Yeah, I actually did languages. My degree was in French and German, and I did it at Durham University. And actually, I'd say that that's still something that's really useful even now, because publishing is an increasingly global industry, so having languages really helps. Yeah, this is the thing. After I did my degree, I then specialised in medieval French literature for my MA and my PhD. Actually, it was at the end of my master's programme that I decided that I'd go into publishing, mainly because I didn't actually get funding for my PhD initially, and I wanted to do something that still involved working with literature and texts. And it seemed to me that the publishing industry was somewhere where I could still be creative with texts and books, and not moved so far away from what I'd been doing in terms of my master's. So I did that, and then obviously a couple of years later did get the funding for my PhD and decided I'd go back and do that. But publishing was always in the back of my mind, and I still worked in various publishing companies while I was doing my PhD to help me pay my way through. And then suddenly it all came together when I came to Anglia Ruskin. I came as a postdoctoral researcher here, but the publishing course that's here had started to gather momentum under Samantha Rayner, who established it, and needed a bit more teaching staff, and they found out that I had a background in publishing, and it really started from there. Well, I did a few internships, as we all do. I did an internship at Alison and Busby, for example, which is a small crime fiction publisher, and then I did another internship at HarperCollins in their Thorson's imprint, which was sort of their Mind, Body and Spirit imprint, and I worked in publicity there. And then I got offered several jobs, but the one I actually took was an assistant revisions editor job at Penguin. Specifically at DK Travel, actually.
So what would that involve then, revisions editor?
So it was a backlist job, basically. So it wasn't new material. What we were doing is, because travel guides obviously date quite quickly, restaurants close, museums change their phone numbers, all of those kind of things, or change their exhibits even sometimes as well. What we would do is, as a revisions editor, you would be responsible for making sure everything in the book was up to date for the next edition of it. And depending on the guide, it could be that they come out once every year, a new edition of it. So say something like Paris, that needs a new guide every year, whereas something like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of somewhere a bit more obscure.
Phuket.
Maybe Phuket. Certainly places in the Middle East where things don't change as quickly as they do in Western cultures. They might only need one once every 3 or 4 years, for example. So you'd be allocated a series of guides that you were responsible for, and you would then engage the services of what's called a fact checker, who would literally ring every single establishment in the travel guide and ensure that all of the details were up to date, and would send you a marked up copy of the book to show you where changes needed to be made, if new pictures needed to go into it, etc., etc. So, and then you would be in charge of managing the process of that revision, from getting the fact check done to making the editorial changes, getting an out of the house editor to make all of the editorial changes, and then proofing it, checking it, making sure it's all up to date, and then getting it sent out to what's called the global sales operation. So that's to get it translated, because of course DK Eyewitness travel guides are made the world over and are translated in lots of different languages. So any changes made on every new edition of the same text need to be changed in every translated version of that same book. And also getting it off to production, and then finally seeing the printed book come back in. I do feel proud that I have become a course leader at a relatively early stage of my academic career. That's really important to me, because it shows that, I've actually found a real niche in terms of what I can do and how I can help students to achieve their goals, and it's great that that's been recognised. So that's definitely one. I'd say producing my first book based on my research, that's a pretty important achievement in my career, because it's the thing that really marks you out as not only a teacher but also a world-class researcher, if you can get your book out there. And a third, probably the fact that all of my students have gone into paid employment pretty quickly after they finish the course, and the vast majority are in book trade jobs. There's only 1 or 2, I think, who have chosen to take other different directions, but the fact is they're all employed. So that makes me a very happy person, and that's a real achievement as far as I'm concerned. Yes, experience, experience, experience. The key to the course is not so much learning theory and those sorts of things, it's actually providing you with the opportunity to gain practical experience, and that's through a number of means. So it can be putting theory into practice in the classroom, of course. We have industry professionals who come and deliver the classes, who guide you through dedicated activities which help you to understand the sorts of tasks you'll do in the industry. But more importantly than that, there's a suite of short courses where you gain key skills in various areas of publishing, but we also obviously have all of our internships, which give you on-the-job experience. And, you know, I'm not saying that an MA in publishing is the only way you can get a job in publishing. Of course, there are other people who've managed it in other ways, but it's always, I think, through gaining a variety of experience in the publishing industry. That's how people go into it. So, you know, whether you're going into publishing via an MA or otherwise, take the advantage of gaining experience wherever you can through internships. Something silly. I love steam trains. I've got a real sort of nostalgia for anything to do with steam trains, and I've actually learnt to drive a steam train. So yes, I'd say that's probably my quirkiest side, and the side that most surprises people when they hear about it.
I'm quite surprised. Okie doke, that's about it.